Hello everyone, my name is Blue Raven 666 and welcome back to Witchcraft 101. In this installment, I will be talking about spirits, how to identify, contact, banish, and protect yourself from them, as well as the roles they can play in witchcraft, and how they differ from those of our deities, which I have covered in a previous lesson. So, what is a spirit exactly, and what makes them different from our deities? The term spirit is typically used when referring to the souls of the deceased, but in the grand scheme of the natural and metaphysical world, it's more used as an umbrella term that encompasses a wide variety of different beings. Ancestors, shadow people, the fair folk, ghosts, creatures and entities that are written off as mythical to those who lack the spiritual energy to be able to sense or see their presence. A spirit can be a lot of things. They could be good-natured and positive, or they could be harmful and negative. Spirits hold the potential to be helpful and provide guidance, or they could make your life a living nightmare by causing mischief, harm, or inconvenience us for their own amusement. Their attitudes and motives range on a broad spectrum, from those that fall within the laws and morality of the natural world, to those of whom follow an entirely different set of rules that clash with our own. The fair folk, or the fae as they're most commonly known, fairies, are one such example. The fae are not like the cute and colorful sprites and pixies that you see in Disney movies and children's books. It's said that if you were ever to see the true face of the fair folk, they'd gouge your eyes out in a heartbeat. They are mischievous, yes, but they've also been known to kidnap humans, bring them back to their own realm, and enslave them. Fairy food is also rumored to lack nutrients to sustain a human, so if a person is unable to escape their realm, they'd eventually die from starvation. And all of that doesn't even begin to dive into the fact that it is stupidly easy to unintentionally enter into a lifelong contract with the Fae that could wind up extending to future family members, kids, grandkids. It could be as simple as picking up a shiny stone nestled amongst some mushrooms, or setting up little fairy homes in your garden because it was a cute idea you saw on Pinterest. This is why, time and time again, you'll hear just about every witch you come across tell you straight up, don't fuck with the Fae. The rules of their world that they follow do not mix well with ours. But enough of the fair folk for now. There are spirits whose rules and morals do follow our own. Ancestors, for example, or the souls of the dearly departed. It's pretty common knowledge that ghosts are the souls of the dead that are unable to leave this life behind. Similarly, there are those who do manage to cross over into the astral realm, or the spirit world as I mentioned in a previous lesson, but choose to remain here and serve as spirit guides to friends and family members, rather than reincarnate and enter into a new life. And then there are the spirits that we classify as angels and demons, the entities that terrify and attack us, and those who guide and protect us. I wouldn't be so bold as to put a label on these beings based on that nature alone, as a, quote, shadow demon, or shadow person, for example, might spend their entire time living in a person's presence without bringing them any harm. Similarly, there are beings that we might view as beautiful or angelic that might turn around and rip our throats out when we turn our backs on them. These beings are not of heaven nor hell in my eyes, just spiritual beings with their own motives and their own agenda. What each person views as good or evil, angelic or demonic, tends to vary from person to person. While yes, there are things that we can agree collectively that are evil and abhorrent, it's the minor details that set us apart. For example, I work with Ram, the 40th demon of the Ars Goetia, and I have worked with Asmodeus. I would not describe either of them as evil due to the fact that they've been kind, helpful, and have treated me well. However, if you were to try to tell a lifelong Christian that two demons of the Ars Goetia are good, I'm sure you'd get more than a few protests and an hour-long lecture to go with it. In a similar way, there are types of spirits that make me very uneasy and that I don't trust that some people love and appreciate. I warned you about the fair folk simply because that's the fate I don't want to risk falling into. But if that's your cup of tea, go ham. I can't stop you. I can only tell you what I know. Now, every now and again, the term spirit is used synonymously with deity, and I feel like it's important to recognize the difference between the two. Remember that a deity is a god or a goddess, or a being that is worshipped as a god or a goddess from a specific pantheon. Now, while certain types of spirits, such as ancestors, spirit guides, and when done right, even the fair folk can be respected, they aren't gods. Some entities, like trickster spirits, will try using backhanded methods to achieve this status, but they're not full-fledged deities. Now, I do see how the two terms are so easy to mix up. In the case of ancestors, for example, an altar can be made to pay tribute to certain individuals, grandparents, great-grandparents, and so on. And typically we do the same for our deities. Both have the ability to guide us on our spiritual journey, assist in spellcasting, and help us through trying situations. An ancestor can give advice based on their own life experiences, while a deity can do the same simply because it's within their realm of expertise. Above all, if disrespected, both do have the ability to fuck shit up and teach you a lesson however they see fit. However, you will never catch me saying, I am a devotee of my Grandma Louise and my Grandpa Joe, like they're my deities. It kinda sounds silly when I put it like that, doesn't it? However, I could still pay my respects by doing something like cooking my grandparents' favorite foods, burn some incense, and light a candle for them to celebrate their birthdays or wedding anniversaries, or just do it because I'm thinking about them and miss them. I'd never be so bold as to worship my ancestors as deities, but I wouldn't be so horrible as to say that their lives and their traditions aren't worthy of being respected, even in death. That is basically the difference between spirits and deities. Both are honored and respected in similar ways, but the circumstances differ when compared to the worship of actual gods and goddesses. Now, what if we look a little further beyond just ancestors and fair folk? A little more ambiguous, if you will. Entity. A word that every witch probably uses once a week at least. The term entity is used when we've come into contact with a being that has yet to be identified. Is it the soul of someone who has passed, lingering in the natural world? Is it a deity, a shadow person, a bad spirit like a Wendigo or a skinwalker? We don't know! And when we don't know, that's when we break out the umbrella terms. In witchcraft especially, spells, tarot readings, charms, meditation, and so on tend to attract entities and spirits like moths drawn to a flame, both good and bad. That's why you will typically see a witch cleanse a spell jar with incense before they add anything to it, and seal it with wax afterwards, to ensure whatever goes into the jar stays in, and whatever's outside of the jar stays out. In general, when it comes to spirits, there's good news and there's bad news. The bad news is there's a ton of spirits out there, and not all of them mean well, as you might have probably already gathered from this video by now. Unlike with deities, while you can say yes or no to them, it's more likely that a spirit won't extend the same courtesy, especially if it's a trickster spirit. The good news is that there is a multitude of ways you can protect yourself and drive them off. Now, this might sound silly when I say it like this, but if you have a spirit in your home, especially if it's in your home, that isn't welcome, tell them. Stick up for yourself. Remember, it's not a deity, and if you don't want this entity around, you can let them know with whatever choice words you see fit to use. Incense, smudge sticks, stones and crystals, moon and crystal water, protection items like crucifixes and dream catchers, spell jars, the list goes on. In most cases, these precautions won't drive away any of your deities, spirit guides, or positive beings that mean no harm, but they will definitely ward off the negative entities that do. All of the aforementioned items like incense, crystals, herbs, charms, moon water, all of those things will be covered in their own videos. But the things I've mentioned in this video are things you should definitely keep in mind if you're looking to learn witchcraft. That'll be all for this lesson, you guys. Thank you for tuning in. In the next lesson, we will be talking about energy. I'm thinking that'll be a short lesson, but you never really know with me. If you have any questions, be sure to leave them in the comment section below. My name is BlueRaven666, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye-bye!